Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be making my updated guide for the party node in Rise of Adventure. So, let's get into it. For starters, if you hear a loud purring sound, the beast cat has decided to make her home next to my microphone right now. So hopefully you find that sound somewhat comforting. If not, I apologize for her. It's kind of like I bring out my recording equipment and she's like, I have to be right here, right now. But anyways. So, I want to start this off with some quick deck picks for you guys. I know that some of you tune into these videos just so you can see the quick deck pick for the newer decks and for the more established decks, and then you boogie on out. So, if you're a newer player, I would go with something like what you see on the screen here on the left. And then if you have Outlaw's Merriment, which is if you are a more advanced player, I'd go with something more like what you see on the left right here. Now, let's get into the node itself, right? So the node itself is really important. So for this node 1, Adventures Party on top, what's going to happen is you're going to select your Planeswalker, you're going to start the first match, and as soon as you start the match, you're going to be given a choice for if you want to be a Wizard Adventurer, a Warrior Adventurer, a Rogue Adventurer, or a Cleric Adventurer. And when you select one of those 4 typings, as those are the 4 different creature types that make up, or card types, I should say, that make up your party, then that is going to give you some form of a buff for playing cards of that particular type. Now, a little bit of a thing that might be not known to you is that when you select, say, the Cleric Adventurer, then that perma support that is on your side of the battlefield actually counts as you having a cleric on the battlefield for the purposes of party. So really, on this node, you actually only need to get down 3 different members of your party because your support is going to count as your 4th, which is really handy. It's going to make this node a lot easier for you. Now, if you look at the objectives, you need to activate a Planeswalker ability 3 or more times during a fight, and you need to have a full party in order to get the full ribbons. This means that when you're selecting your Planeswalker, you're going to want to select a Planeswalker that you can generally spam the abilities for, and for the composition of your deck, you're going to want to make sure that you can fairly easily get access to that full party. Now, if you take a look at the card that I had here on the screen just a second ago, Outlaw's Merriment, this card is kind of like a pseudo cheat code for this event because it's going to create a cleric, a rogue, and a warrior token onto the battlefield. Now keep in mind that in order to have a full party, you need to have 4 separate cards, one of which is going to be a cleric, one of which is going to be a rogue, one of which is going to be a warrior, and one of which is going to be a wizard. So even if you were to use a card that had all 4 of the subtypes on it, that would only count toward 1 member of your party. You need to have 4 separate cards. Now, the reason why Outlaw's Merriment is kind of a cheat code in a way for this is that you're going to create 3 separate tokens. The Cleric token, the Rogue token, and the Warrior token, man, my little hand fingers are not clicking on that Rogue token, are all going to be separate tokens, which means that if you select the permanent support Wizard Adventurer, right, you're going to always have a wizard down, and then the moment you play Outlaw's Merriment, you're going to get the other 3 subtypes down, and boom, you've immediately got a full party. All you need to do is cast Outlaw's Merriment once, and you've immediately met the have a full party objective. So if you have Outlaw's Merriment, I would strongly advise that you build around this card, using either a red or a white Planeswalker that you're going to be able to spam abilities with. Now you'll see that I wound up choosing Koth because Koth is a very spammy Planeswalker. That first ability, Reshape the Land, is very easy to get off 3 times in a match. Furthermore, the Wizard Adventurer token is actually my favorite of the 4 tokens on its own because for Wizardry, which makes it, right, you'll see it right there, Wizardry, which means that whenever you cast either a wizard or you cast a spell, any spell, draw a card, it gains 3 mana. And then if you have a full party, instead draw a card, copy it 2 times, and then those cards, copies, get +6 mana. So this is really nice because it makes it so that you just get a whole bunch of card draw for playing spells or playing wizards. And the other really nice thing about this is that you don't actually need to run a wizard in your deck in order for you to be able to get that full party objective. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at, well, what happens if you don't have Outlaw's Merriment, right? Because Outlaw's Merriment is ultimately what makes this node kind of easy mode. So I want to go over the deck that I made here for newer players and point out a few specific cards that I want to draw your attention to as you consider how you want to build for this node. Now, this is for people who don't have Outlaw's Merriment. Please keep that in mind. This next bit is for people who don't have that card. The 3 cards that I really want to direct your attention to are going to be Veteran Adventurer. You'll see that I don't have any experience on this card because I have never needed to use this for party myself. However, this is a phenomenal card for completing the party objective for any event that requires you to make a full party. Because 14 mana for a 6/6 Vigilance is already a solid creature. But you'll notice that this creature has Human, Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard, which means that it has the 4 creature types, Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard, to enable you to use this creature to fill in any of the members of party that you need in order to have a full party. Furthermore, this card is actually going to cost you 1 less mana for each member of your party. And since you're going to have a perma support out that is automatically going to be one of the members of your party, this is going to automatically cost 13 mana, which is really nice. And it's going to wind up costing less and less the more that you have in your deck. The next card that I want to direct your attention to is Stonework Packbeast. This is a colorless card, so you're going to be able to use this in any deck that you want. It doesn't matter what Planeswalker you choose, you will be able to use this card. Once again, you'll notice that I don't have any experience in this card on my own, but that is just because I happen to have Outlaw's Merriment. That said, if you use this card, right, you'll see that it's a support, but it happens to have the Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard subtypings, which means that this will count as another member of your party. And what's really nice is you're going to get a lot of flexibility between the Packbeast and the Adventurer in that they are both going to count as whatever members of the party that are needed because they count as all 4. So they'll just wind up filling in and counting as the one that you need them to be. Now with this card, it has when you activate a loyalty ability, convert 2 gems to your Planeswalker's colors. That's very useful since you need to be activating a Planeswalker ability 3 or more times during the fight. So this card right here is going to enable you to spam your abilities a little bit faster, and in doing so, it's going to help you with both objectives, and I really like that. The last card that I want to direct your attention to is actually this Morite of the Frost card. Now, there are other Changeling creatures, but if you take a look at Changeling, Changeling is every creature subtype while it's on the battlefield or board and while being cast. This is important because the Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard all are different creature subtypes. So ideally, if you cast a Changeling, the Changeling is going to count for every member of the party that you could possibly need. So just like how you have a lot of flexibility with cards like the Veteran Adventurer or the Stonework Packbeast, if you're running Changelings in your deck, those should also ideally work toward completing your full party as well. So what I really like about this here Nissa deck is that a lot of the cards in this deck are going to be fairly easy to get, just in terms of, like general easiness versus difficulty of cards as they come in this game, right? I know that you still have to pull these cards from packs, I understand that. But beyond that, Nissa's first ability is going to give you card draw, it's going to give you mana, and it's going to convert gems. So by giving you card draw, mana, and gem conversion, it's going to be filling up your hand more to help you get to your the cards that you need in order to get that full party quicker. And then by converting gems, it's going to give you more loyalty to make it so that you can use the abilities more often. Furthermore, there's a lot of access to all players for green gem conversion. So Nissa's Pilgrimage is a card that every player has. It just comes with Nissa when you start out the game. And then there's a lot of other green gem conversion cards that exist. Yes, there are ways that you can sub cards out for this And so if you wanted to sub something out, be it the Gingerbread Cabin for Castle Garenbrig, by all means go ahead. If you wanted to swap out Skemfar Elderhall for like the World Tree, I mean, by all means go ahead. But those are rares and mythics. They're a little bit harder to get, and I recognize that. Another nice thing about this Elderhall that is just sort of like a little low-key thing is that if this gets destroyed, it's going to create some warrior tokens for you, and so that's also going to help you toward that party objective. Finally, beyond those cards, you want to make sure that you're putting some removal in your deck, and so I'm personally running Binding the Old Gods and Ram Through. If you have the Great Aurora, I would strongly advise that you use the Great Aurora over Ram Through. However, Ram Through is a phenomenal card to use in order to serve as pseudo removal. The final pieces of this deck are the Dwynen Gilt-Leaf Dane. This is a phenomenal card. It's an Origins rare. You can sub this out for something else if you would like. Basically, if you don't have this card or if you just have a stronger creature in general. This is a warrior, so it will count as a warrior toward the objective. And then the final card is the Tajaru Paragon, which is just another one of those Swiss Army knife, counts for everything that you could possibly need in your party, in that it counts as a cleric, a rogue, a warrior, and a wizard. Sorry, I keep coughing. I have a cold right now, so yeah, it's making it a little bit harder to talk. Anyways, for this deck, you're really not going to be getting a whole lot of benefit out of the Wizard Adventurer support because of the whole, wizardry, draw a card, gains 3 mana, and the only spell in this deck is Ram Through. But that being said, I would still use the Wizard Adventurer because it's a lot easier to get the other subtypes. So if with this deck, I mean, to be fair, you do have 4 Swiss Army Knife cards with the Veteran Adventurer, the Pack Beast, the Paragon, and the Morite of Frost, or if you have some other changeling that you use, by all means go ahead. But this is going to be a very well-rounded deck, and it should provide you with some fairly decent success on this node. If you do have Outlaw's Merriment, right, so you do have Outlaw's Merriment. I mentioned earlier that I think Koth is probably your best bet, because Koth is able to spam that first ability, Reshape the Land, fairly quickly. However, there are some other very good options in the sort of Koth range that you can use for this node. Karn is a fantastic option because Karn has that first ability that's only going to cost you 4 loyalty, and it's going to help you fetch cards from your deck. And so by fetching those cards, ideally you're going to get to that Outlaw's Merriment a little bit quicker, and then you're going to be able to achieve what you need in order to be able to get the full party. Now, if you're like, wait, but Nalthazar, I have more cards in my collection than what you were showing for that Nissa deck. By all means, you could take that Nissa deck, put it in Karn, and then just swap out the removal for better removal options, and you'll be just fine like that too. But the bare bones of that Nissa deck is actually generally what I would go for, regardless of what your collection is, if you don't have Outlaw's Merriment. So the other pieces to Karn that are, Koth. Whenever I'm talking about Karn and Koth, just the four-letter K ones, I get their names mixed up as I'm talking, but in my head they're not. Anyways. There's one other thing that I really wanted to direct your guys' attention to in the event that you're running this particular deck. Now, I'm personally running Paco, Arcane Retriever here. You can run different creatures. You do not need to run the creatures that I'm running between Terror of the Peaks, Cercera, and Paco. But what I want to direct your attention to with Paco is that Paco has this companion ability to be able to make this Haldan Avid Arcanist, and this token counts as a wizard. Now, this is important because I know sometimes we play a match, we get a little bit careless, we forget a little bit about the node, or maybe we just misclick and we forget to choose that Wizard Adventurer. So this is in here so that if you're one of those people that's like, you know what, sometimes I can get a little bit careless when I'm playing the game, I might forget to select that Wizard Adventurer support. Well then, if you're playing Paco in your deck, this will create that Wizard support on your side, and then when you play your Outlaw's Merriment, as long as you've got the Paco Wizard support down too, you'll be fine, and you'll be able to achieve the objective anyways. So this is just sort of in there as a failsafe in case someone forgets to select that Wizard Adventurer token. Otherwise, we've got Cercera, who's going to be in here to give us card draw with mana, which is fantastic. We have Terror of the Peaks, which is in here to serve as pseudo removal. Just as we're playing more copies of Cercera and we're playing more Pacos, we're able to use those to start just burning away at our opponent's creatures. And the more that we're burning away at those, the better shape we're going to be in general. I've got here quite a few spells between the Outlaw's Merriment, the Shatterskull Smashing, the Ruinous Ultimatum, and Valakut Awakening, along with an incredible arsenal of cards that are going to enable me to draw cards between Valakut Awakening, which is going to discard my hand and draw me a new one with +1 cards, Whirlwind of Thought, which is going to draw me a card every time I play a non-creature, and then the combination of both Surcera, which is going to draw me cards, really fetch, and then Taco Destroyer here for when it attacks, you exile, and then you wind up actually getting that card back with the Halden if you are indeed running the companion. If you're wondering what is the companion for the Taco, your starting deck needs to contain 2 or fewer non-land supports. Koth is only able to run 3 supports anyways, and so as I'm running 2 lands with Valakut and Castle Embereth, Whirlwind of Thought is the only non-land support that's in the deck, so it makes it really easy to get Paco's full companion ability. I've run this exact deck for every single iteration of this event, and it has never failed me once. So I know I have my own style of play, you're going to have yours, and so it might be that you want to go with something else. My last suggestion for you, if you do not want to use either Karn or Koth, is to use Rawl for this node. And my suggestion to use Rawl is that the first ability, Prophetic Research, is going to be a very spammy ability at only 6 loyalty. It's going to enable you to fetch cards in a very similar way to Karn, and it's going to give those cards mana. So by giving them mana, it's going to make it easier for you to either get to your Outlaw's Merriment or to get to the other cards that you're going to be using to try and soup up your party. And there are quite a few options in blue for Changelings in the event that you wanted to go ahead and use Changelings instead of the other cards for your party. So that's really what I would go for this node. I hope that this guide has been helpful for you. I hope that you're able to achieve perfection on this node. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.